Hello, everyone. Emma here. Thank you so much for joining me at Faming for God. I'm so excited to be back online and in communication with all of you. I'm coming to you from the Chicagoland area. I am so excited about a faith-based talk show where we're going to be talking about mental health. Let's begin by acknowledging two truths. Number one, we're human. And number two, we need each other to have the best human relationships we can possibly have. So I would like to begin by looking at two scriptures because we are faith-based. And I love the Old Testament because I love the God of the Old Testament, the God of love and obedience. And I respect the New Testament. I love the New Testament where Jesus teaches us how to have a relationship not only with Him, but with each other. And so today, as we talk about mental health, in particular, borderline personality disorder, let us reflect on two scriptures. In 1 Corinthians, well, first of all, let's in Matthew chapter 7, 1 through 2. When it comes to mental health, we can get all sensitive and sometimes judgmental because we don't understand mental health as well. So in this particular series, we want to gather a better understanding of what mental health is all about, what a disorder is all about, so that we can adequately love and encourage someone that may have a diagnosis. In Matthew chapter 7, 1 through 2, the Bible says, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you." I tell you, number one, when it comes to being in a relationship with someone who has a diagnosed disorder, do not judge. And you can write your comments from that statement itself, based on your experience of working and building significant relationships with people, with someone you love that has a mental health disorder. And number two, in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, let's start reading in verse 4. "Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast. It is not proud, it does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres." You know, being in relationships, having interpersonal relationships with anyone can be quite challenging. Having a relationship with someone with borderline personality disorder can be very challenging. But it can be a relationship of love, a relationship of hope, a relationship that honors one another. So our challenge is to obey Scripture and learn how to be in relationships with each other in an understanding and loving way. But first, let's define borderline personality disorder. Borderline personality disorder, better known as BPD, also known as emotionally unstable personality disorder. I'm going to share a short story with you very quickly. When it comes to building relationships with other women, sometimes it's difficult to discern if this person is emotionally unstable, or is this person just simply relating and enjoying the relationship between two people? 21 years ago, and this is very quick here, 21 years ago, I moved from Seattle, Washington, myself and my family, to Los Angeles to work with the church there. In Seattle, basically, I worked with a group of women that, let's say, struggled with generalized anxiety, generalized depression, maybe a little PTSD because they were housewives and their husbands traveled and we had young children. So we would have a group and we would talk about mental health, but it was more so light. And then when I moved to LA, I met women who had these heavy diagnoses. And I made the mistake of responding immaturely, without understanding, and quite frankly, without love. There were three women in particular that I met immediately as I was reaching out. The first woman that I met, she had been diagnosed with schizophrenia. I met her while she was visiting the church. And after church, I went up to her and introduced myself. And she immediately said, my daughter is a member here, but I'm not a member here because I have schizophrenia. And my response to that was, no problem. We can be friends. But it was a problem. I had no idea what it meant to build a relationship with someone that was diagnosed with schizophrenia. I disrespected the diagnosis. Later, all the signs and symptoms came out over a 3-month period. She would go missing. She would show up in the middle of the night, early in the morning, in our backyard at the pool. I didn't understand. And so one day we sat down after I made inquiry. I did a little research. Although I had a background in social work, I did not know what it meant to be in a relationship with someone who was living out her schizophrenia. She was a nurse. She was a graduate of UCLA, a beautiful woman. And we connected. There are times when our relationship was fun, exciting, woohoo. And then there was times when it was mystical. I didn't know if she was telling the truth. And there was a little paranoia here and there. She would disappear and return. So one day she said to me, Emma, I want you to know I'm no longer gonna take my medications. And I said, sure, fine. If you don't feel like you need them, don't take them. I said, you're a nurse. You should know what's best for you. I disrespected the diagnosis. We continued to build a relationship for 6 months. One day her daughter called me and she said, Emma, my mom has gone missing. The last time we saw her, she was homeless under the bridge near UCLA. 2 weeks later, she called me. We still can't find my mom. Can you go with me to find my mom? So I went on this journey not knowing what to expect. We found her mom. When we found her mom, she was under the bridge, not alive. I learned an incredible lesson that when someone has a diagnosis and they tell you they have a diagnosis, you must respect the diagnosis. So 20-something years later, I'm talking to my audience about understanding and loving a person with borderline personality disorder. I really want us to take this time to heart. The goal of all of our relationships is to learn how to love each other so that our discipleship and their discipleship will be positive, made more useful, so that we would have the energy and the know-how to change and to become more like Christ and less like the personality disorder. But here's a few things about borderline personality disorder. It's a disorder that's characterized by a long-term pattern of unstable interpersonal relationships. Most people have a difficult time. Most people with borderline personality disorder have a difficult time in intimate relationships. They're always afraid that perhaps the person would leave them. They engage in self-harm. They have a strong emotional reactions. They may also struggle with a feeling of emptiness, fear of abandonment, and detachment from reality. This is difficult. This is a hard relationship to be in. But you can actually be in this relationship, learn from the person about the disorder so that you can have the respect to learn how to build a relationship of love. What does a relationship of love look like when it comes to having a relationship with someone that may have been diagnosed with personality disorder? There are positive effects of love on mental health. Love plays a major role. Love is powerful. As I shared with you guys last week, a child that's loved is a child that has the ability to grow into being a healthy citizen, a healthy person, able to build healthy relationships. A healthy, loving relationship is protective against poor mental health. But it can also be a major support to those in treatment for mental health. Love and positive social support increases feelings of happiness and reduce stress. And remember what our goal is in relationships. My goal in life is to be happy, healthy, and hopeful. That should be your goal in all of your relationships. Relationships will either help you or hurt you. We must know the signs and symptoms of someone that may have a personality disorder because you have a choice. You have a choice to enter into that relationship with caution, or you have the choice to be around that relationship with boundaries. Again, love is a powerful emotion and it can be healing. If you're in a relationship with someone with a personality disorder, know that healing must take place on a consistent basis. Because people with this disorder will harm you. They will. You have to be someone that's fully aware and able to protect yourself. To love a person literally means to protect yourself from being hurt by someone that has a mental health disorder. If you're in a relationship with someone with a personality disorder, let's make sure that they're getting the clinical help that they need and you're showing the love that is required to keep them in that battle of getting care. Self-care becomes so important for someone who has a mental health disorder and is in a loving relationship. I promise you, the person who has a disorder in a loving relationship wants to be their best for you. You have to help them to be their best. How do you do that? Find out what makes them happy. I really do believe what makes anyone happy is the ability to accept someone else. You have to be willing to accept the diagnosis as it is. If someone says to you, I have borderline personality disorder, go do your research. Come back prepared and become a listener. Learn from the person what it means for them to be diagnosed with that disorder. You cannot relate. You cannot on your own understand. Learn from the person who is diagnosed with this disorder. That's an act of love. Now, love isn't a cure-all for mental illness. I told you that. I mentioned that earlier. But it's true that being in love and having a supportive spouse and healthy, intimate relationships promote happiness. It's all about happiness. I want to be happy. You want to be happy. And when you're in a relationship with someone, you want it to bring you joy. Know that when a person struggles with mental illness, your ongoing healthy relationship is helpful. They need something that's progressive, consistent, where they can rely on you. Are you reliable in this relationship? Do you show up or are you running away? Being loved, secondly, promotes self-worth. Most people with the personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, has a low self-esteem. They feel different, they feel alone, they want to withdraw. Oftentimes they feel like there's no help for me. Honestly, psychiatrists and those in mental health felt that way with anyone that received this diagnosis, that there was no help. But in the 70s, a lot more research and working with more people, they came to believe that not only can they be in a healthy relationship, but they can manage their diagnosis, and in many cases, they can be completely cured. Number 3, any type of social support benefits mental health and treatment. Being a part of a social group is so important. Don't be alone in this relationship. Bring the person that you love and value into a social environment where joy and happiness and the ability to communicate with a specific goal to be a part of each other's lives is a part of the social group or the social club. In our case, it's our fellowship. Our fellowship is so beautiful that we can be accepting and loving because we do not judge. Our fellowship is so beautiful because we can be merciful, kind, and patient, and full of great plans and dreams. A healthy relationship supports healthy habits. I don't know about you. I love some of our kingdom habits. We have habits of meeting together at least 4 times a week. That's a great habit for someone that has a mental health disorder. You have to be aware, though, that that person has this disorder. Mental illness is not a one-person issue. It's not. If you have a mental disorder, it impacts the people close to you. Your relationships also impact your mental health. Everything is connected. This means that the people you love, particularly your spouse or partner, can and should be involved in treatment. Being active in treatment doesn't look the same for everyone. When I trained as a marriage and family therapist, I trained as a psychodynamic therapist, and basically the interventions for someone with a personality disorder fell under the psychodynamic approach. And the reason we need a psychodynamic approach is because on one end, someone with a personality disorder can be very praising and you're their hero, and then quickly turn and you're their worst enemy. They will chop your head off. And you have to be prepared. I had a client once, and this is my closing story. I had a client once that came into my office and said to me, "You did me wrong." I said, "What do you mean I did you wrong?" "You did me wrong." I said, "Well, what did I do that I did you wrong?" There was no answer. They turned and they walked away. When someone has a borderline personality disorder, they can make you feel like you're the problem. It's your fault. You did me wrong. But because you understand the disorder, you don't take it personal. You don't have a reaction. So what I want us to gather from today is what I read in Understanding and Loving a Person with Borderline Personality Disorder by Stephen Arterburn. I really want to encourage you guys to get this book. It says here, and this is so neat, I underlined it. Where is it? I'm so happy I'm on with friends. You guys are so kind and so thoughtful. Actually, I have so many things up here. I got my DSM-5 here. I love the DSM-5, and it's just the diagnostic criteria for particular diagnosis. And I have my Bible and a lot of notes, but I want to keep it simple. Basically, what I'm saying to us today is that we need to be respectful of mental health diagnosis. We need to learn from the person what that diagnosis means to them. And then thirdly, we need to always create an environment of hope, of happiness, and of good health. But I want to read this to you. It says, it's a short story. If you thought you've had a relationship with someone only to be suddenly smacked in the head for some unknown reason, this book is for you. If you've been completely unable to comprehend something disturbing that happened with someone you thought was your friend, you've come to the right place. Did you ever have a cordial friendship and then suddenly the individual attacked, exploded, screamed, or accused you? Then you know how it feels to be run over by someone who might have BPD. So I say to you, don't be afraid of the diagnosis. Don't be afraid of the person. Be completely on board to be understanding and having a heart of love. Next week, we're going to get more specific about what we must do to create boundaries, to be in a healthy, happy, and hopeful relationship where the person who is diagnosed is not harmful to themselves, nor are they harmful to you. I love you. God bless you. Thank you for joining me at Faming for God.